Before December 14th, 2012, Scarlett Lewis was a single mom with two beautiful boys, and she was devoted to raising them in a quiet neighborhood, low crime rate, where everyone knows everyone else, or so they thought. On December 14th, Scarlett's life and her family's school, community, and nation was changed by the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. Jesse Lewis was a courageous boy that day, and by calling out to his grade 1 classmates, while the shooter was reloading, he moved them into action. Because of his call to action, there were several of those children who jumped up and ran. He saved 9 lives that day. Unfortunately, Jesse was not able to save himself, but his mother has continued the call to action and has devoted the last 9 years to creating change in how people understand their emotions and their reactions to events and situations. This is a tragic story, and there has been a lot of soul searching and healing work that has happened to provide Scarlett, her older son, and their family with the opportunity to recover from the trauma. Our focus for today's discussion is on how to begin to take those few first steps forward. How do you leave paralysis and fear, anguish and pain, and try to breathe again? Scarlett is joining me today to talk about some of the tools that were shared with her in the following weeks and months after the shooting, and the role these tools have played in her personal life now and in the programs created at the foundation, the Jesse Lewis Choose Love Foundation, where social and emotional learning is bringing awareness to people of all ages on how to recognize and process emotions in a healing way with healthy relationships, creating a formula for post-trauma growth to rebuild, rebound, and revitalize. This is the Choose Love formula. Okay. Hi, Scarlett.
Hey, Michelle.
I am so grateful that you decided to join us for this conversation today and to expand some of our insights into your background and the way that you've used different modalities and disciplines to help you with your healing journey. Have you got anything you want to share about what kind of tea or water you might have brought to the table today?
I have brought some water in a special glass. I hope that everyone can see this. It has etched, "Have a lot of fun." And this was my son Jesse's last message to his older brother, who was 12 years old at the time. JT found this little note where Jesse had written this to him on his desk. And so that's been our mantra, having a lot of fun. And I always have this glass filled with water on my kitchen counter because of Dr. Emoto's work, Miracles in Water. And so I believe that. And I always have a beautiful message, usually have a lot of fun or nurturing, healing love on my water. So I will go by, I'll drink it, and then I'll fill it back up, and it's always there.
Oh, that's beautiful. Mine, I made some Choose Love tea. So I have that ready to go. I just love this tea and hot or cold. So it's either in the fridge or it's on the counter. And I have today, don't let anyone dull your sparkle. So
perfect. I love it.
On the inside, some of us were just born with glitter in our veins. So sometimes that's on the outside when I'm looking at nature, but it's lovely to have.
Love it.
Okay. So let's move from there. And part of what I was hoping to discuss today is a little bit of the highlights about the bioenergetic wellness tools that have played a role in your life and also have been helpful with mental health, post-traumatic growth, and stress release. Can you share with the listeners some of your first introductions?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me here, Michelle. It's such an honor. I realized following Sandy Hook, and we were very fortunate because we had people from all over the world coming into our town offering their healing modalities. And some were, some I'd never heard of before and from far off places. But what a blessing to have all of those people offering those to the victims' families as well as to the town people. And so I realized right then and there are two kinds of people. There are people kind of like me that were open to trying all of them because I felt like they could only help. And then there were those that even on my strongest recommendation, if I tried something and I loved it and I felt like it really helped me and I would recommend it to the other families, then there were those that were a little bit more fearful and basically thought, well, what if it doesn't work for me? And so I was glad that I was in the former group because I really do think that our thoughts and our beliefs help shape our healing, and having that more willing attitude has really helped me.
Beautiful. There were some tools that did come in. I know that Masgutova's NeuroReflex Integration was in there, which is an area that I have done study in. I don't do a lot of work with it, but they have a trauma team that does come in. Some of the other ones were a little bit more informal, and I know that you had the tapping solution was there in Therapeutic Touch. You want to just talk a little bit about some of those?
Oh, absolutely. So MNRI, of course, I'd never heard of that, but I heard the story behind it, which is so interesting. And the actual founder came to Sandy Hook with her team. I had the treatment in a building that was actually given to them so that they could administer healing. And then I brought my family because I loved it. Number one, it felt good. And I just love the concept of sending healing messages to my brain that it was safe, especially after what had happened. The amazing thing about the MNRI treatment, so I tried them all and I've stayed with only a few, the ones that I have felt have been most effective for me. But interesting with MNRI, I still do that to this day. So it's almost 9 years later, I'm still receiving MNRI treatments. And the one of the women on the founder's team, Shannon Desilets, was also a cranial sacral therapist. She continued to come down to Sandy Hook from New Hampshire to give these treatments every other week. And I was always there if I wasn't traveling. And on the table, I would be talking about what my idea for a solution was to not only school violence, but mental health issues, substance abuse, and bullying. And she said, gosh, as soon as you're finished with that, I want you to come to my school in New Hampshire and I would like to implement it there. Well, she ended up getting the governor of New Hampshire to come to the presentation, and then he hired her to be my Choose Love ambassador, actually his Choose Love director in New Hampshire. So it's amazing how these friendships and relationships have developed when you have an open heart and an open mind. So that is incredible. We're just starting our Choose Love bus tour in a couple of weeks there, which is really fun. So that's MNRI. And then I had the incredible privilege of having Nick Ortner himself. He just happens to live in Newtown, and he is the president of the Tapping Solution. He actually came to my house and sat in my living room with my son and my father on either side of me, facing us, and led us through tapping. And I had just a tremendous breakthrough during that initial tapping session where I realized that I was using anger to shield me from the actual pain of losing my son. And that came through tapping. I had been familiar with tapping before, but that was incredible and really cinched it for me. I continue to tap. I tap with Nick's app, the Tapping Solution app, and I also have professional tapping therapy. So you can actually go to therapists who tap with you. And I've had incredible insight and breakthroughs through those tapping sessions. It's been amazing. And of course, Nick introduced me to Dr. Wayne Dyer, who ended up publishing my book, Nurturing, Healing, Love, and writing the foreword, which is also a tremendous honor. Tapping and brain spotting is another modality that was introduced to me after the Sandy Hook tragedy. The founder of brain spotting, which is actually EMDR on steroids, I say, this EMDR technician noticed that when he did the movement in front of his patient's eyes, the eye would twitch in a certain location, and it would be the same location every time. And he realized that was where the trauma was located, in the brain. So in brain spotting, he actually has you identify that location and then talk through what is there in the brain. And for me, that was incredibly effective and powerful. And of course, being able to do it with the founder, Dr. David Grand, who's located in New York City, was mind-blowing, because he's just a phenomenal person as well. And I have so much trust and respect for him. That was another incredible modality that I continued with. I also continued with a few other things. Like I love essential oils. I always have an essential oil by me in the car, by my bed, on my desk where I work, all sorts of them. And I was introduced to essential oils before this. I have a diffuser. I love essential oils, but I also do massage. I know how important self-care is. I spend a lot of time outside in nature. I have a farm, so that's how I wanted to raise my boys. I wanted them to go outside, to run in the sunshine, to have dirt specifically under their fingernails when they came in at night. To me, that meant they had a fun day. And same for myself. So I do that a lot. We have lots of animals, and I have a lot of healing with animals. I've done equine therapy. I had a friend that ran an organization in Sandy Hook, and I actually gave her Jesse's miniature horse and miniature donkey from our farm, and she used them in her equine therapy program. And I was on her board. I did a session with her, and I did that with my mom. And I mean, my mom left in tears, just with incredible insight. My mind was blown at how powerful that was. I just feel so blessed to have been able to really embrace all of these different things that have really, really helped me in my healing.
It's as you're talking, and I'm thinking about that started the conversation with those people who are kind of afraid. What if it doesn't work? Maybe it will make it worse, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But then what I'm hearing through your story is really how, by taking that one step, which is, we talk about the Choose Love formula, you take that courageous step forward and try something a little bit different, but also what's on the other side of that. And you never know where those tools will pull you towards or open up. And not that the open up needs to open up a wound bigger, but just open up to the possibilities. And when I think about some of the amazing programs that have come out of Newtown, from the people who've taken the opportunities to really envision, how do we take this forward? How do we learn from it and grow? And how do we help others? which then is the compassion in action part of the formula. But it just appears like from those tools, it's a way to see through, and it's a way to walk forward and have that vision. Is that kind of the experience? I'm not sure about the other people within the community, what you've experienced, but do you have anything you could comment on that?
Yeah, I've learned so much. I think that's why, we have these difficulties in our lives. They are there as opportunities for growth, to learn from, grow through, and be strengthened by them. And I think because of our innate bias, we focus on the negative. Of course, our brain's main job is to keep us safe, as all of your listeners know. So it's got us focusing on negativity. And because we do that, the things that we're introduced to going through life, like PTSD, we know about PTSD, yet almost nobody's ever heard of post-traumatic growth. But when you look at both of these things, both with scientific research behind them, going into the pandemic, 7% of the population suffered from PTSD at one point in their life, but the vast majority of us experience post-traumatic growth. And this blew my mind. And I went back to my personal tragedy when I lost Jesse at the firehouse before I knew that he had actually been murdered. All of my thoughts were on, my brain trying to keep me safe, worst case scenario. And that's what our brains do. So I was literally sitting there thinking about what I knew, which was PTSD. And my brain was saying, oh my gosh, if this, if it turns out that Jesse's been murdered, I'm definitely going to suffer from PTSD. And how is that going to manifest in my life? I'm probably going to be institutionalized. And who is going to take care of my surviving 12-year-old son? I mean, literally, I'm sure that other people can identify with that. That's what I was thinking. And now flash forward to having this greater understanding of how the brain works, and also about teaching resilience and essential life skills, and how important that is. I think about how I would have responded had I known about PTG, just had the awareness, not researched it or anything else, just known it was a possibility. So go back to that moment at the firehouse. It would have changed my thinking. I would have thought, oh, what is that thing called? Post-traumatic growth? Like, I'm supposed to grow through this? How is that even possible? What would that look like? But you can see the change in my thinking and how I'm moving down a different path. Mm-hmm. Right from the beginning, before I even know the outcome. And that's what I want for our children. I want them to have this awareness that the difficulty that we all face in life is actually an opportunity for growth. So I want people to have less fear about things that happen, and more courage, the ability to face things that happen in their lives with the understanding that you can, and it's a choice. When you have some essential life skills, you can move through this, you can grow through it, you can even be strengthened by it. And of course, I can't talk about courage without talking about Jesse's courage. When at 6 years old, he stood up to the shooter that came into his classroom after he had murdered his principal and guidance counselor right outside of his classroom, and came into his first grade classroom, stood up to him. He murdered his teacher who was standing right behind him. And then the shooter's gun ran out of bullets. And so during the short delay, Jesse called to his friends, told them to run. They said it's because he told them that they ran, and he's credited with saving 9 lives. And, I talk about that courage because that is the same courage that we all have. We have the ability to have that courage. And hopefully, of course, not in that scenario. I don't want to be in that scenario. I don't want any of your listeners to ever be in that scenario, but I'm talking about the courage that it takes, which you referred to in the beginning, to face what's happening in our lives and to even try new modalities of healing. I didn't realize that actually took courage, and it does. And science tells us that courage is like a muscle. We can practice it and strengthen it so that we have the courage to face what's going on in our lives and to embrace healing. That takes courage too, because I know people in my life that are afraid to embrace healing. They're afraid to let go of their wounding. And this is from childhood. And so they cling to it because it's actually become part of their identity. And I literally made a decision after Jesse's murder that I did not want to become another victim of Adam Lanza, who was the former student of Sandy Hook Elementary School, who came back and perpetrated the crime. I wanted to be free. I wanted to take my personal power back. I did not want to live my life in anger. And really, most of all, I wanted to be a good role model for my 12-year-old son. I knew that he was learning from me in the moment. Everything that I did, every, not only word out of my mouth, but facial expression. Every time I had a conversation, there were little ears listening to me. Every gesticulation, all of my energy was teaching him in the moment how to handle difficulty, roadblocks, challenges, pain and suffering, even tragedies for the rest of his life. And that awareness helped me rise to the occasion and be the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. It's such an interesting conversation about which way you can choose to take that road, and what it takes to make that decision to take the road as well.
To understand that it's a choice, because when you turn down an angry, resentful, frustrated, fearful path, I'm pretty sure that's not a choice. Because if you had the skills and tools, you would choose love. That's what we call it in the Choose Love movement. You would choose freedom from fear and anger and resentment and hatred. Most people would choose that if they had a choice.
Exactly. So as I'm looking at what you've done since that time and your opportunities, I know that you've dedicated your life through the Choose Love movement, and you had some visions of where you wanted to take the foundation and to be able to reach out to the globe, really. Do you want to talk a little bit about this new reality that's coming forward with the van and the wrap and the vision that's now a part of this whole movement?
I will, but I have to give credit to Jesse. Again, Jesse left 3 words on our kitchen chalkboard before he died: nurturing, healing, love. They were phonetically spelled because he was in first grade, just learning how to write. But when I saw those words, I realized that if Adam Lanza had been able to give and receive nurturing, healing, love, that the tragedy would never have happened. It was so simple, but simple isn't always easy. I knew that that was a message of comfort for his family and friends, and we took it as such, but it was also my marching orders. I knew it. I knew that I was going to spend the rest of my life spreading that message. So here I am 9 years later, and everything that we do is based on the nurturing, healing, love. That when you take those 3 words that, by the way, are in the definition of compassion across all cultures, and you break down their meaning, it becomes this powerful and profound formula for choosing love. So this formula can lead you to thoughtfully responding with love in any situation, circumstance, or interaction you will ever face, or you have ever faced. And so this helps you take your personal power back. And so that is the basis for everything that we do. We have now, we call it next generation lifespan social emotional character development, essential life skills programming for all ages. And we give this away because it was priced out of the market for my son. It's called social and emotional learning in schools, but also mindfulness, character development, growth mindset, neuroscience, so many different programs. And that's why educators are like, there's so much out there that's so great. Which one should we choose? Because we can't do it all. So we put all of it. We distilled all of the best, and we teach it underneath this powerful formula. And it helps and benefits not only the kids, but the educators as well, because all of these essential life skills, it's not enough to say, oh, I already know all this stuff. We actually have to exert effort, a little bit of effort, and consciously practice these skills and tools in our everyday life. And luckily, life is such that it gives us plenty of opportunities every day to practice these essential life skills. So for the last 9 years, I have literally been on the road visiting schools and communities, universities, spreading this message. And this has spread by word of mouth. This programming is now in over 10,000 schools in every state and 112 countries, and growing every single day. I have been talking, some of this, actually, I'm getting a tap on the shoulder, like not some, almost all, okay, of this literally comes through me. It doesn't really come from me. I literally believe that I'm just kind of given these marching orders. And one of them, interestingly enough, and those who have known me and maybe even worked with me for the last 9 years on the Choose Love movement know that the other thing is this Choose Love bus tour. And I've been talking about this for almost as long as we've had the movement. Which, by the way, was started a month after Jesse's murder, so January 2013. And so it's coming to fruition. I've always had the understanding that I would be, at one point, getting a bus, wrapping that bus with the Choose Love message and hitting the road. And Governor Sununu in New Hampshire, who is such a courageous leader, who hired Shannon Deslets, who was doing the MNRI down in Sandy Hook, hired her as his director. So now Choose Love is, New Hampshire's done more with social and emotional learning than has ever been envisioned by anyone. It's now in their prison system. It's in their governmental agencies. It's in their foster care, first responders, bus drivers, including schools, homes, and communities. So it's now this language that brings together these previously siloed efforts. Now everybody is talking to one another and working towards the greater good, which is totally amazing. And so Governor Sununu heard about this bus tour and he said, everything you do first in New Hampshire. So we're actually going on the road next month, and we're going to go throughout New Hampshire with an RV wrapped in the Choose Love message. We actually just chose a design by one of our students to wrap the bus in, which is so amazing, in Nebraska. And so we're going to be stopping in communities, and we're going to be literally providing hope in what is a really challenging time now. Hope that you actually, even though you can't always choose what happens to you, of course, collectively, we would never have chosen a global pandemic, of course, and all the things that happened after that. However, we can choose how we respond. And so we are taking this kind of hope on the road to help reinforce the Choose Love movement's message and helping people have the skills and tools to be able to take their personal power back and thoughtfully respond with love.
Isn't it just so exciting?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Like I can't even believe it. Just got off a meeting to go over what the wrap would look like. And it's just amazing to me to have had this thought put in my head and then to see it come to fruition is amazing. And I've been putting it out there, you know, for a long time. And I do believe that everything happens at the right time. And this is the right time. You know, when I started this movement, it was really focused on keeping kids safe in schools. I know that what happened at Sandy Hook, what happens now on a weekly basis, I used to call it our new normal, these school shootings. And I can't say that anymore, I realized the other day, because it's just our normal now. And every single one is preventable. And I think sometimes we wait because we think somebody else is going to fix these bigger problems in our society, like school shootings. And I realize we can't wait. We have to take responsibility for what goes on in our world, in our communities, in our schools. It's our responsibility. And I realized with what happened with Jesse too, and in taking personal responsibility for what goes on in your life and in your world, you can become part of the solution. And I invite everyone listening to visit our website. And I know that everybody that listens, Michelle, to what you have to say is already part of the solution, because they have already stepped forward and they are providing healing to the world, and whoever has that healing ripples it out. So it's very powerful.
I think there's a couple of key pieces in there that you've said, taking it back to some of the healing pieces, and that is that self-responsibility model. So we have the Choose Love movement, which is a self-responsibility model for community and for how we fit within society. But then we also have that self-responsibility model for ourselves, and taking that time to do the healing work, make sure we've addressed the concerns that the body's got and the brain is trying to tell us, and really get into that space so that we can move forward. When you think of the timeline that you said, you know, having a shooting happen just before Christmas is a very tough time for people to get through. At the best of times, sometimes even 6 months after. But then when you think about, you are already transformed into, we need to do something different, and that's in January. That's a short period of time for the amount of trauma that the community and each person was experiencing. And I know that there are lots of other initiatives that came out of Newtown where everybody did take different roles in different areas that they felt support needed to happen, and grow other movements. So I just wanted to draw attention to that, because I think sometimes I had expressed before we started the recording that the first time I had a healing session in Touch for Health, the person I was with said, you know, make sure your goal that we've worked on today, you keep a record of all the goals that you work on, because after you balance and create energy flow to that goal, it disappears. You don't even know it was a problem. You can't even believe you even thought that way. It just kind of goes off into the distance. And that's what happens with these different tools, is they have that opportunity to bring the energy into a different flow, so that you have the opportunity to let those monkey thoughts go, and maybe those inhibitions and those, like you said, those angry moments, just to be there.
Wow.
So I just wanted to bring that back, because I don't think people realize how those tools might be able to impact them. Go ahead.
Well, I needed that. I needed what you just said. Yeah, because I still have healing goals, obviously, as I move through my life. And you're right about that. And I need to write them down too, because they're pretty specific. And, you know, now they're dealing with older wounding. And yeah, so that's really good. That's helpful to me.
That's great. I just know some of the things, you know, too, if I've been working with someone and they've come to me a couple of times, and if I haven't seen them for, I don't know, 6 months or something like that, and they come in, and then I say, oh, last time you were here, this is what we talked about, and here was your goal. How is that for you? And they're like, what are you talking about? I wasn't thinking of that. And that that wasn't my goal. And they say, well, that's well past, now I'm doing this. And it's like, oh, that's really interesting, but it's forgotten. And really that's the great part, is if it's forgotten, it's not that you're erasing those memories, it's you've forgotten the trauma behind all those pieces, and you can actually move forward with emotions and vitality. So
Yes.
yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time to share some of your story. And I know you share the message a lot, and not a lot of time that you get to talk a little bit about some of the healing components that help, and also just even a little bit of that journey for you. And I know you have a big message sitting on the top of your shoulders, and I know that a few knocks saying, do more, do more. So I thank you for the time, and also for the vision that you've brought. And at CanBeWell, the organization, Canadian Association of BioEnergetic Wellness, it's a long title, CanBeWell. We're just grateful to have had the opportunity to build a relationship with Choose Love, and the ambassadors that we have in Canada are really excited about gathering and what we can provide. So we appreciate what you've given to us. So thank you so much.
Well, we appreciate you as partners, and what you personally have done, Michelle, as well as our other ambassadors. So thank you for bringing the Choose Love movement to Canada, and for all of your love and support.
I wish you the very best as you jump into that RV and take it on the road. I can hardly wait to see the pictures and the stories.
Yeah, thank you so much.
If you'd like to learn more about the Choose Love movement, you can find them at chooselovemovement.org. And if you'd like to know more about CanBeWell, they're at canbewell.org. For those interested in joining into the Shift into Wellness Synergy Summit, you can register for a series for the full 6-month learning experience, or to be a part of the Mastermind Collective to have networking and collaborative opportunities within the bioenergetic wellness community.